All rise. This Criminal Court Division 2, Davis County, Tennessee, is now in session. The Honorable Judge Angelina Black Sheriff presiding. God save this court, this state, these United States. You may be seated, please.
Good morning. I'm so happy to see each of you here as we open this special session in Division 2 of the Davidson County Criminal Court. And I thank each of you for being here this morning and taking time out of your very busy Thursday mornings to pause as we recognize the very significant contribution of a great man in our legal community. The Honorable J. Randall Wyatt was a true public servant. And I know that many of you have read through his biography that's listed in his obituary, a man who we acknowledge his service in the Marines and in the FBI and in the police department, but most of us in this room knew him as judge. After first being elected to the Davidson County General Sessions Court and serving many years there, he deservedly took his seat in Division 2 of the Davidson County Criminal Court. A man of great stature, he was a very gentle and kind person, commanding respect because he rendered respect. As a judge, he was stern, but he was fair. I am confident that I can speak for all of us when I say that we are very appreciative to Judge Wyatt for his dedicated service on the bench and in honor of his time that he has given to each of us. So, and thank you to the family for sharing him with us for many years, and thank you for being here this morning. This morning we're going to hear from people who have known Judge Wyatt over the years. We're going to hear from Ed Yarborough, his dear friend for many years, his colleague, the Honorable Steve R. Dozier, and Chancellor Ann Martin as presiding judge of the Davidson County trial courts. Thank you so much.
We all knew this day was coming. And the hard part for what I'm about to do is what to leave out, because there are hundreds of stories that could be told, many of them amusing, some of them relevant, and many of them not fit for a public audience like this. On the way over here, the thing that popped into my head was a sign that they used to have in the criminal court clerk's office. And Howard, here, I don't know if they still have it, but it said, "It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice." That was in that office for years. I remember the first time I saw it, I said, that's a pretty good thought. But guess what? That virtually defines J. Randall Wyatt, Jr. He was very important to all of us, but he was always nice. He was never someone who would use his position or his authority in a way that would do harm unnecessarily to another person. Yes, he sentenced many people. Not too many ex-Marines who went to Father Ryan and cheered for Vanderbilt football, but I'm sure there were some here and there. Now, in a room like this, there are many people who work in the courthouse, and I'm sure you remember vividly the day you got your job in the courthouse. And you may have had multiple jobs in the courthouse. And rather than tell something that I know because of my relationship with Randall for 57 years, I'm going to tell you something that he always liked to tell me, especially when he was in the presence of my former law partner, John Hollins Sr., with whom I practiced law for 31 years. And that is this: Angie, Jim, Laura, and Lisa were all living up there in, was it Michigan at that point, or Minneapolis? Detroit, wasn't it? Somewhere near there. 1968. Some of you are old enough to know what was happening in 1968. Well, Jimmy Wyatt, the father of Randall Wyatt, also a lawyer, didn't like the fact that 4 of his grandchildren were going to be raised in that environment. So he called Big John Hollins, who was a classmate and friend of Tom Shriver, who had 2 years earlier had been elected district attorney in Davidson County, and asked Tom if he could possibly hire Randall as an assistant DA. And Randall used to refer to Big John as Moses because he brought him up and out of Detroit. And so that worked out well. And probably none of you know this. Hal knows it because I'm sure he's got it in his scrapbook. But on July 4, 1968, now that's a holiday, right? July 4th, but there was a newspaper on that day. And here's an article that I clipped out online. There's a picture of 26-year-old Hal Hardin being upgraded from part-time to full-time as a student assistant in the DA's office. And buried in the body of the article is the hiring of J. Randall Wyatt, former FBI agent, as Assistant District Attorney General. And that trend continued until Judge Wyatt was elected in 1974, and then he got all the headlines, and we tended to forget about Big Hal over there. So, but that was the beginning of it, 57 years ago, last month. And the favorite story, I'm not going to talk too long, they've warned me about that, but the favorite story that Randall loved to tell on himself was that first big trial, because since John Hollins had helped him get the job, I guess he felt duty bound to train Randall on how to be a trial lawyer, because he had not been a practicing lawyer. He'd only been an FBI agent since his graduation from the law school in 66, I believe, something like that. And so John took Randall over to sit second chair in Division II, across the street, in a murder trial, first-degree murder trial. And the defense lawyer representing the defendant in that case was none other than Give Bob the Job, Bob Lillard, former Metro Council member, very capable criminal defense lawyer with a booming voice. And Hollins had a voice, too. So Randall's sitting there for 2 or 3 days watching these two people shake their finger in the face of the defendant and pounding the desk and using those great voices to good effect. And he would share with me that he said, after a day or two, I didn't know if I could do this job or not. And so, of course, the defendant was convicted. But to his surprise, Judge Draper immediately granted appeal bond, and they all went down the same elevator. Well, the next day, Randall's back at his regular day job, which is assistant DA in the General Sessions Court before Judge Joe Loser. And guess who one of the defendants is? The same guy that the night before had been convicted of first-degree murder on a charge of driving on revoked driver's license. And even then, boys and girls, driving on a revoked driver's license had a mandatory 2-day sentence. And Randall always was proud of the fact that he put that man in jail for 2 days, and John Hollins couldn't get him in the night before on a first-degree murder charge. That's just I guess, a sample of the personality of this great man. And I could say so much more, but I'm sure you'll be happy to hear that I don't plan to. But I just think that Randall remembered that sign about being nice as opposed to being important. And he also believed in what John Kennedy said in January of 1961, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. He did that. He lived it. He loved it. And you all can be very proud. Thank you.
I know all of you can tell Judge Wyatt stories, and we've been telling them since, I was telling them last Friday when y'all allowed me to come see the judge, and Nick Bailey was there, and I know Ed and Hal and a number of others had already been by, various mayors, and that had all practiced in his court. But we were telling Judge Wyatt stories, who's caregiver, and and we all have them, but there's a saying, that imitation is the most respectful form of flattery. So we've been flattering Judge Wyatt for a number of days now, and like Ed said, we've known, that we all get here, but some people do this a lot better than I, but I was thinking about Judge Wyatt's stories, and as Ed mentioned, as a DA, I started as a law clerk for him. I was in the DA's office trying cases with Cheryl and other people that are here. But as an attorney, and then as a colleague with him for 20 years, nearly 20 years, you always heard Judge Wyatt stories, humorous, and even Friday when I got to see him, was telling Judge Wyatt stories to Karen, caretaker, and he woke up and I said, Judge, we're telling Judge Wyatt stories about you at the courthouse, and he chuckled and smiled, and that was just a blessing to be able to be there and see that. But all of you attorneys know, if like Ed said, if a defendant was from West Nashville, had Vandy ties, even been to a Vandy game, and the defense attorneys, you all know, you wasn't a gang, but you tried to find your client some kind of tie that would sell to Judge Wyatt and Father Ryan, whatever. But the one everybody tells, just generally, it happened thousands of times. If you were in a sentencing hearing as a DA and you started, seeing or hearing that the defendant was going to call his mother as a witness, you were in trouble as a DA. He would be in terms of trying to imitate, and I try to emulate him in his life and hopefully have some of his characteristics. But we've all heard, Mr. Defendant, you have gotten yourself into a terrible mix-up. Could be a burglary, it could be a murder, but it was a mix-up. You've got yourself into a terrible mix-up, but you have a wonderful mother. And what I'm going to do is let you leave here and ease on out of here in just a moment and go in peace with your mother. Words can't be sufficiently expressed for my respect for Judge Wyatt, his compassion, his patience, his respect for the bar, the profession of being an attorney that maybe we don't have around here as we did when Hal and Ed were leading us and still do. But he had that. I'm proud to have called him a friend, proud to have been working beside him for nearly 20 years, and appreciate him. And thank you, like Ed said, Angie and all the family, Jim, Vince, for sharing him with us.
I'm Chancellor Ann Martin. I'm the presiding judge for the state trial court judges here in the 20th Judicial District. I don't spend a lot of time on this side of the street. In fact, Chancellor Perkins and I weren't sure what floor to get off on because we spend our time across the street. Of course, Judge Wyatt, during his career on the bench, was across the street and in this courtroom, and I think it's fitting to pay this tribute to him today in this courtroom where he did so much good work. We're so proud of the legacy of his good, strong, compassionate, firm judging in this district, and we all strive every day to show many of those qualities in the work that we do, whether it's in this building or across the street. We appreciate everyone being here today. to share their memories and thoughts, and to be here in fellowship to think about Judge Wyatt. We appreciate the family being here. Thank you so much. And we wish everyone to have a wonderful day and go in peace. Thank you.
This special session of the Division II Criminal Court is now adjourned.
All rise.